Well, welcome into another edition of Talkin Ducks. We'll get to Oregon's game against Indiana here in just a second as their season comes to an end in the college football playoff semifinal. Yeah, exactly. What game?
No, don't duck the game now. I got things to say.
There is more pressing matters that we need to get to right now. First of all, this show continues to be sponsored by Hot Tea because even though you recover over the cold your kids give you, your voice does not for the next couple of weeks afterwards. We have to get to the news that Dante Moore is returning for yet another season at Oregon. And with that, we welcome in Aaron Fentress and George Wrighster, of course. And guys, let's get to the news here because right now you basically put last season in the rearview mirror. If you're Oregon, you're looking towards next year already. And Dante Moore coming back, who many people, Aaron, thought was going to be the number one overall pick this year, decides to return yet another year. And I guess I want to get your reaction. You wonder, was he truly going to be the number one pick, or what was the type of bag that Oregon gave him to come back for another season? Aaron.
Number one pick, I think that's going to be Mendoza. I think he definitely goes top 5 had he come out. But this is the smart decision. I've said this numerous times. The year at UCLA was not pretty. This year was much, much better. He demonstrated great development, but he only had a few good games against high-end competition. It was clear that he needs more seasoning, for lack of a better word, and I think that showed itself again in the Peach Bowl against Indiana. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, guys develop as they develop, and we talked about this last time. Marcus Mariota came back when he could have gone after his redshirt sophomore year. Herbert came back after his junior year. Sometimes you just need more time. Even Mendoza played 3 years at Cal before playing this 4th season at Indiana, and now he looks like, a finished product. So this is huge for Oregon, and I think it's huge for Dante's development.
George.
Guess who's back? Back again. Dante's back. Tell a friend. So I love it because Aaron's right. He needs more seasoning, and people are still, like, I've talked about old brain when it comes to college football and how people are thinking about, wins and losses and everything else. This is old brain territory too, because people are like, well, if you're going to be a top 5 pick, you got to go. Actually, no. That 3 years ago, 100%. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 100%. But the fact that this dude is going to be making over $5 million this year between collectives and endorsements and everything else, it is a prudent choice because, number one, you get money in your pocket. So you're not a starving student. You actually get a chance to save money, invest. Like, there are kids on Oregon's team that own property in Eugene.
Kenyon Sadiq. I wrote about Kenyon Sadiq. He said he's into real estate. He already bought some properties.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're now in the community as a business. First of all, second thing is that there's then an insured. People are like, well, what happens if he gets hurt? He's going to be insured with a Lawrence and London policy or somebody else as a top 5 pick. So you don't have to worry about what happens if you have a season-ending injury or a career-ending injury. And then the next thing is that they're talking about the NFL money. Well, it's $40-some million guaranteed now. Well, it'll be next year as well, and it'll be a couple $1 million more. But the most important part about this is that everybody keeps being so short-sighted. They're looking at your draft stock right now. That's not the goal. The goal is the second contract. And I've said it that I believe that if Dante Moore had come out this year, his chances of getting a big-time real starter $300 million deal is low. But if he comes back again, they got $300 million written all over it for him. So you got to either think. So I love the fact that he's thinking long-term, and it shows that it's consistent. He made a long-term decision when he decided to leave UCLA and sit for a year, which most kids are not willing to do. And he's actually being a trailblazer and a trendsetter in this way. So you have a lot of people that are just saying, oh my God, you will have to go. But if you're not because our talent a lot of times in life takes people to places that they're not emotionally, spiritually, and mentally ready for. And Dante had that at UCLA, and now he's like, I'm not doing that again. I'm gonna give myself the best chance to succeed.
100%.
George, yeah,
100%.
I completely agree with you, George, because the NIL changes everything. It's why Bo Nix came back for another year, and it's wild how much the money has almost doubled or tripled over the last 3 or 4 years in the quarterback market for the most part. But I think what we saw, and we'll get to the game here in a second, the difference between someone that is seasoned in Fernando Mendoza, who was just dotting his receivers left and right and did not look rattled at all no matter what Oregon was throwing at him defensively, versus Dante Moore, who still could use some seasoning.
I want to point out that Cal former head coach, former Oregon Duck, Justin Wilcox, how Mendoza even ended up at Indiana was because he didn't even believe in him. He was like, I can't guarantee that, like, even though you started for me last year, I'm not sure if you're my starter. That Fernando Heisman Trophy Mendoza. So if somebody was sketchy about him last year, and now all of a sudden it looks like God touched him with his own hand with his accuracy right now. Don't you like, and people, Ducks fans have been in the comments, oh my God, he was so terrible this year. He was bad against Indiana. I don't know if I believe in him. What? He had 2 bad games. What are we talking about? And yes, there's room for development, but let's not act like that people don't have glow-ups in life.
Well, and also, there's so many other nuances to this, Aaron. You're looking at who's drafting and needing a quarterback. You got the Raiders and Jets, and you would argue that you maybe be mindful about what franchise you're going to, possibly. And you also look at guys like Caleb Williams, for how talented as he was. He struggled mightily in his first year in Chicago. Marcus Mariota was much more polished than Dante Moore was right now. He struggled out the gate. So I think another year of seasoning will serve Moore so much better. And now that you have NIL, now that you have these insurance policies, you're still going to be making a tremendous amount of money, life-changing money, before you even get your name called in the draft, and you're protected against that. So there's nothing that can go wrong, and now you have the chance to possibly win a Heisman next year. You're going to be in the forefront of that conversation when the season begins, and that's always something that's incredible that you can never put a price tag on. But Aaron, one more thought on Dante Moore, and then we do have to go back to what happened down in Atlanta, by the way.
Yes, we do. But no, everything you just said is correct. He has a chance to go to New York next year for the Heisman ceremony. As a matter of fact, I'm going to call my shot right now. If he's healthy, he will be in New York. And he has a chance, and we're going to get to next season in a little bit, to improve on this season in every way imaginable. I believe that this year, I said numerous times, he had to go through some growing pains, and there was a lot of times when they kind of needed the running game to keep things going to help him. I think next year that's going to flip. I think next year he and that passing game are going to be so much of a problem that they're going to help open things up for the run game, because people are going to have to scheme to deal with him and those receivers, because his IQ is going to take a huge leap with a good offseason. Going to be the same system because Maringer's taking over. I imagine they're not going to just revamp the system. You should keep the same system since your tight end coach was just coaching it for a couple of years and your quarterback's in it. So his mental acuity is just going to make a leap. And once that happens, the stats are going to just roll differently, just like they did for Marcus, just like they did for Bo Nix, etc. So yeah, I expect great things for him next season, no doubt.
And super quick.
Yeah.
It probably was very enticing for him to come back, the fact that they're returning like 14, 15 starters next year too. So I think it just shows kind of the connection that Dan talks about with this team, and you know, him liking the people that he's around.
Yeah, it's a good point. You got to like who you play with. That matters as well too, instead of getting the heck out of Dodge. But either way, Dante Moore coming back. And oh, by the way, wasn't there a quarterback that also signed with Oregon during this time? So Oregon's pretty set with the back. How about Dylan Raiola signing with Oregon and jumping ship from Nebraska? And now you've got your next quarterback waiting in the wings, a la Dante Moore, with what Oregon had with Dylan Gabriel a couple of years ago. I mean, touch on that, Aaron, the fact that you've got another stacked quarterback room going into next season.
I love it. I know there's some people out there who don't think Raiola has that great of potential, what have you, and he didn't look that great in Nebraska. But that goes back to what we're talking about with development. When Oregon signed Bo Nix, most Duck fans are like, ugh, Bo Nix from Auburn, Bo Nix? There's no way he's better than Ty Thompson. By the midseason of his first year, it was, oh my God, Bo Nix, Bo Nix, Bo Nix, right? He became one of the most beloved quarterbacks in history because he improved. I predict that's going to happen with Dylan Raiola. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be a Heisman candidate like Bo Nix. Bo Nix became a damn Jedi on this team. He was just insanely wicked. But we saw improvement from Dylan from freshman year to this year. This year had 18 touchdowns, 6 picks before he got injured. I know he has deep ball issues. He needs to get in better shape. He doesn't have the great escapability you'd want from a quarterback, but he has arm talent. He's going to sit behind Dante and learn. And by 2027, I think he's going to at least be very, very good. Maybe not Heisman-esque, but I think he's going to be very good.
George, you like the Dylan Raiola signing? Do you feel like he's the next quarterback waiting in the wings after Dante Moore?
George?
I'm taking an Aaron Fentress approach. I don't know if the window's open. But I do think that there is potential for the window to be open. Because if he sits a year and he gets in shape, he fixes his deep ball and all of these things and matures, had a better offensive line in front of him, learns to play on time instead of holding the ball more. Like, it's not that he's devoid of talent because he's got a big old arm. So we can't just sit there and write the kid off, but we can't also guarantee that he's the next guy either. But here's the reason why I love it. Is when he got signed, I said, yo, that they're going to redshirt him. If people, oh my God, there's no way he's not going there to sit. I was like, yes, he is. And I love the fact that Oregon now has somebody in place, because if something, God forbid, were to happen to Dante, he gets nicked up, has to miss a half of football like he did against Wisconsin. If he has to miss a game, the house won't burn down. Like, Dylan will not let the house burn down. So your season won't get ruined if he has to start a game or two. So I think that puts you in position to be able to sleep a little more comfortably at night. And also you have some projection to the future. But the Dylan Raiola signing did cost Oregon Bryson Beaver, who
you can't have a Beaver play for the Ducks. Come on now, George.
No, he had to go anyway.
You can't do that. That's sacrilegious. There's a rule against that.
Yeah, but if you had to choose, and you're like, all right, either take Dylan Raiola to make sure that the house won't burn down in case something bad happens, or have a true freshman who we have no idea if he can even throw 18 touchdowns and 6 picks, I'm going to take the 18 and 6.
You go with the proven product.
Yes.
Great. That was,
right,
by the way, George,
let's get to the game.
Yeah. George.
Of course you want to let's get to the game. He sounds like a kid.
I gotta say,
you see him smiling right there? Your little smug smile because your team's playing in the national championship.
I wasn't even going to talk about that.
Kool-Aid smile on. That Kool-Aid smile is going to be gone on Monday.
We got to set the stage for the game here because, oh boy, it happened again for the Ducks, unfortunately. And as soon as that pick six was thrown, I texted you guys. I said, that's it, ball game. You can't throw a pick six on the first play to Indiana in that type of game. George
said one play.
Back, don't worry, it's the first play. Oregon might have been better off just saying, you know what, that's it. We're going to just call game at this point, call it 7-0.
No.
We can't do this.
Jordan, I actually
joking.
See, here's the thing.
Oh, God, here we go.
The thing I loved about the pick six, okay? And
here we go.
Hold on. The thing I loved about the pick six was, and mind you, it had nothing to do with that actual game, was that the next drive, Dante comes down and plays really well and leads them to a touchdown. And that actually showed me that he is no longer the same person that was earlier in the season that showed the growth and maturity, because if that had happened in, when the Indiana game happened, he would have fallen apart. And even though the game didn't go well, he didn't fall apart. His eyes didn't look bad. His energy was still good. That was very encouraging about his growth and development. So I didn't love the pick six, but I did love the, like
Response.
him
The
after,
response.
his response.
It's a great response. I get it. It's still a pick six to start the game, Aaron. And yeah,
Spin,
Aaron, go please. I know you got a lot to get to in this one.
What do you want? Give me. Ask me something specific.
Aaron,
I hate you right now.
coming into this game, many people
Let me do what George did last week when you were asking my
Oregon
prediction.
was going to be the team that makes the adjustments. Well, clearly there were not enough adjustments made because Indiana just steamrolled Oregon. This defense, this secondary looked like they couldn't do anything to stop the passing attack. Why was Indiana that much better than Oregon the second time around?
Because they matured differently and they had an older group of players. They have a more experienced head coach. And the only way Oregon was going to have a chance in this game was if the run game was really good, and the run game was decimated by injury. And you had De'Aaron Hill, a good young freshman, and Jay Harris as your lead backs. They're going to make plays. De'Aaron Hill had a nice 71-yard run, but they're not going to be a battering ram like Davidson. They're not going to be as consistent as Noah.
Knock the ball out of the quarterback's hand too.
Yeah, they're going to do play action correctly. Like, there's just little nuances there. So when that was gone, now it's all on Dante. And yeah, they sold for 3 months. I asked Lanning and Dante this, after the game. Like, you guys sold for 3 months, how much you learned from that game and how much you grew from that game. But you had to expect that Indiana's gonna change things up a little bit too and put you in a bad situation. Also, that was a home game, man. And Dante talked about it after the game, how it was tough to communicate because it was so loud. And they did things to prepare for it, but a bowl game, playoff game should not be like a whole game or like a home game. And that was 90% easily Indiana fans. And I'm not blaming Duck fans because that's an expensive trip to make, especially with the Natty coming up next. And some of you may have gone to the Orange Bowl already. And whereas Indiana fans have a ton of alumni there in Georgia, and
they've never spent any money on bowl games before. Indiana fans,
exactly.
They got a lot of reserves.
It's Christmas.
Waiting for these bowl games. They have not had to
exactly. So there's motivation.
Catching flights to games.
I know there's motivation, and it's only a 6-7 hour drive for a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
So you had that advantage. So all those things together. Before the game, I had a 7-point game. Before the game, I was in the press box talking to Tyson Alger and Bill Oram, and I said, you know what, dude? I think they could get their butts kicked tonight because everything is literally going against them. And the pick six happens. They did answer, but after that, it was just all Indiana. And even like some people say, oh, defense didn't play all that bad. You can't blame the defense for the 3-yard drive and the 7-yard drive and the 21-yard drive. But Indiana still had 4 touchdown drives of 50, 60, 70 yards. And we can't assume that if they had gotten off punts instead of turning it over, that Indiana wouldn't have scored on those drives too. So both sides of the ball got shellacked by a more experienced, better team with a more experienced, better quarterback and a more experienced and right now better coach. And that's okay. Life moves on. All I know is that George owes me $100. Are we going Venmo, PayPal, Cash App? You gonna just mail me $100? Like what? How are we gonna sell this up? It's been 5 years. I tried to let you buy out of it, but it's been 5 years coming. You owe me $100.
Okay, so I will send you your little crummy $100.
Oh, now it's crummy.
Text me your address. I will mail it to you. I'm gonna do it old school.
I'm gonna frame it. It's gonna be right here.
Okay, good. I am glad. But Aaron's right though about like all of the factors that factored into the game, but there was one that he left out, and mind you, there is like in sports you don't get excuses. You have to play with your troubles. And Oregon had troubles. They had trouble with the running backs. They had trouble with the crowd noise. They had trouble with, things. And then they also had trouble with the fact that you have 2 coordinators pulling double duty. And one of them, from all accounts, he had a rough week. He had a rough week trying to do both jobs. And you have to play with your troubles. There are no excuses. If your whole team gets hurt, so what? it is what it is. You have to figure it out. You have to find a way. But I do look at this situation, and some of the fans' response was just insane to me. A former Oregon player, I mean, mind you, he doesn't watch a lot of college football now, but he was like, "Hey, George, man, what happened? How did we get blown out so bad?" And I told him all the things, and he was like, "Man, hey, man, Dan got to be on the hot seat coming in the next year, right?" I was like, "What?" I was like, "Dan is living in an igloo. Like, what are you talking
You're
about?"
right, exactly.
And he said, "What do you mean? He's gotten blown out twice in the playoffs." I was like, he just won 2 playoff games before that. They went further than they did last year. They've lost 1 game in the regular season in the last 2 years. And we're talking hot seat and fans talking about, "Hey man, I don't know if Dan can get it done." When have you found coaches that have won prior to their 6th season? There aren't really any outside of like Larry Coker over there at
Miami, but he was in his 60s and took over one of the greatest rosters ever.
Correct. And then you had Clemson in the 80s that was a similar situation too. And coaches under 40 don't win either.
Right, it's only been 2.
It is insanity because these are the same people who when Mario Cristobal left, when Taggart left, "Oh my God, Stepping Stone John will never find anybody who wants to stay." And now you got a dude who is committed to staying, who loves it there, and now you're trying to run him out the door. I don't understand how we cannot be happy. Like it's like the idea that you either stink or you're the champion. If you didn't win, you stink. You need to be fired. You need to be replaced. And it's like there's building. And there's other things that are more important than winning a national championship every single year and they have to be, because guess what? You're not winning every year. Nobody's winning every year. There are only 3 current head coaches that have a national championship. It'll be 4 after Monday. That there is Kirby Smart, who Georgia fans were a couple until 2022 were like, "I don't know if Kirby's ever going to win." And then you had Ryan Day last year. I don't know if he's ever gonna win. Maybe we need to fire Ryan Day. Like, what are we talking about?
And look at James Franklin,
who's struggling
this year,
right now.
James Franklin took his team to the semifinal last year. Get out to a rough start, they fired him. And I think what we have to remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, the last 3 playoff appearances for the Ducks, if Indiana does win this, they would have lost to the national champion. Indiana this year, Ohio State last year, and I think Ohio State in 15. Is that correct, Aaron? Am I missing a year there?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So they've lost to the national champion the last 3 times. It's not like they lost in the first round to a Texas A&M or something like that. So I'm with you. I think it's preposterous that people are thinking about replacing Lanning. You just want to get to the playoff year after year. And then after that, it's all about matchups, it's health. And as Aaron said, this was a perfect storm against Oregon. You've got Indiana fans, the largest living alumni base in the country. Of course they're going to lose their mind and go down to Atlanta and fill that 90% full. You've got 2 coordinators that have got head coaching jobs. You've got a banged-up running attack. You're missing some of your stud receivers. This was not the year for Oregon to begin with. The fact that they got to the semifinal is an amazing accomplishment this year. And now the deck is stacked in their favor for next year as well, too. All in all, there are programs that might not even get back to the playoff. There are conferences like the SEC that might go 3 years without producing a champion in that conference.
Oh, my God.
So to think that Oregon is doing something wrong right now is just mind-blowing. Give it some time. This is somebody that wants to be there for the long haul. You should be grateful for that as opposed to anybody else that's trying to jump. Ask Ole Miss how they feel, right? Ask LSU what they did with Brian Kelly. So either way, it's just, Aaron, for the last couple of minutes, please take it.
Oh, no, I completely agree. I mean, I find it hilarious only because people were trashing Mario on the way out. Mario's in the national championship. Oregon isn't. But Mario needed 15 years to get to that point. He's had 8 years now, counting Oregon at a Power 4
and
school
Aaron,
to get
I
to
don't
that
think
point.
he gets to the national
And so-
championship if he plays Indiana in the semifinal.
Well, maybe not, but they beat Ohio State. I mean, he's won some big games. But regardless,
Right.
The point is, he's 55 years old. He's 15 years in. Dan Lanning's not even 40, and he's 40 years in. So the whole thing's ridiculous. You got to give it time. And all year, window's not open. I made it ajar, but I said they're going to lose to Indiana. I'm bummed they lost to Indiana because I want to see Oregon, Miami. We all know about that. I was jonesing for that. But listen, man. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. All year I said I thought they were too young. They weren't ready. I didn't think Dante was ready, that you have to have maturity and growth. With all these cats coming back, dude, with all the talent coming back next year with your entire D-line, you got corners coming back, you got linebackers coming back. They replaced Dedeman with the Minnesota safety. Your line, you're gonna get a couple old linemen to help go around Poncho. Your receiver's going to be back. Your back's going to be back other than Noah. And your quarterback's going to be back. I'm saying right now, dude, the window is halfway open.
Before you say this, I think I need to brace myself.
I got to see more of this offseason, but I'm telling you right now, this is the type of team, this is the type of situation where I think you have a legit chance to go to the national championship game when you got a quarterback who's going to do what I think Dante is going to do next year. So I'm saying it right here, right now. We got 9 months to the start of the season, that this team is going to be a problem next year for the rest of the country.
Look at the 3 last national champions, and I'm counting Indiana and Miami for this year. Both of these are older veteran teams. The only freshman that really play significant time for Miami is Malachi Toney. And then on Indiana, ain't no freshman playing at all.
No.
And last year, Ohio State was an old team. Their whole defense was returning players plus Caleb Downs, and they were mostly all seniors. And then on the offense, old offense too. And then the year before that, cheating Michigan, old team as well. They were cheating, but they were old. So
Right.
This is because it's almost like what has tilted in college basketball with the transfer portal and the one and dones is that the older teams that no matter how many guys that Coach Cal had, he had 5 stars starting at Kentucky. Man, they go to the tournament. Them 24-year-olds be like, go home, Kentucky. So this is the way of the world now. You have to understand when you're young, you want to be ascending and you want to be getting better. And then when you get a chance to strike, like Aaron's saying, this next roster is a chance to really strike. And you got to do it.
Couldn't say it better myself. Next week on Talkin Ducks, after the national championship is over, we'll take a look at the national landscape and see how well the Ducks stack up. But the season comes to an end, and I've got to say this. I toast a mug of empty tea to you, Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks. Well done this year. Well done this year. It was a great ride. Onward and upward, as we like to say. So thanks again for joining us on this edition of Talkin Ducks. We'll catch you next week.